Welcome back, everyone, to another deep dive. Today, we're going to be looking at AI agents in the enterprise,
All right.
and we've got a really cool couple of white papers that we're diving into,
Yeah.
and they focus on this new framework for building these agents. And, one of the things that's really interesting to me about this is that
Yeah.
they really shift the conversation from how AI agents work,
Right.
all the technical details, to what they can actually achieve for businesses.
Absolutely. Yeah. It's all about outcomes,
Outcomes, yeah.
not just the technology itself.
And speaking of outcomes,
Right.
these white papers dive into four main types of AI agents:
Okay.
conversational, creative, passive, active.
Yeah.
And they go into some detail on how each one of them has the potential to transform different aspects of a business.
Mm-hmm.
But before we get ahead of ourselves, I'm kind of curious, why do we even need a new approach to classifying these AI agents in the first place?
Yeah.
What's wrong with the traditional ways that we've been categorizing them?
Well, I think the traditional classifications are really valuable for computer science theory.
Right.
But where they kind of fall short is when you try to apply them to practical business applications.
Yeah.
They can get very bogged down in a lot of technical jargon,
Yeah.
and they lose sight of the big picture of how these agents can actually be used to solve real world business
Yeah,
problems.
it's like you
Well,
have this toolbox full of, fancy tools,
yeah,
but you don't have any instructions on how to actually build anything useful.
exactly. Yeah, that's a great analogy.
Yeah, so
They lack that crucial business context. And
yeah.
they also often, don't really consider the user experience either,
Right.
which is essential when you're talking about AI interacting with people in a business setting.
So it's not just about building like a really,
Mhm.
technically brilliant AI.
Yeah,
It's about building AI that people can actually understand and work with and
exactly.
make it user friendly.
That makes a lot of sense.
And so these white papers, they seem to kind of address this by proposing this new paradigm,
Yeah.
classifying AI agents
Hmm.
based on the business outcomes that they actually deliver.
Exactly.
So instead of focusing on, all the technical details of how they work,
Right.
it's really about asking, what can these agents actually do for my business?
Yeah. What problems can they solve?
And I think that's a really crucial shift in perspective,
Absolutely.
especially for business leaders who are looking to really leverage AI, to
Yeah.
gain a competitive edge.
To get a return on their investment.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah.
So can you maybe break down a little bit more, like what are the specific shortcomings
Sure.
of this traditional approach?
Yeah.
And how does this new outcome-driven framework address those?
So I think one of the main issues is that the traditional methods are often very theoretical.
Okay.
They focus too much on the internal workings of the agents
Yeah.
rather than on why we actually need them in the first place. It's like reading a textbook on, how a combustion engine works,
Yeah.
but never actually discussing the joy of driving.
Right. Or never getting behind the wheel.
Exactly. So this
Okay.
new framework, it really shifts the focus to those practical applications,
Yeah.
the benefits for businesses, and it tries to use clear, accessible language,
Right.
avoids all the technical jargon as much as possible.
Yeah. So it's about understanding like
Yeah.
the destination, not just the mechanics
Exactly.
with how to get there.
Right.
Yeah.
And I think another key issue is that
Yeah.
the traditional classifications tend to be very implementation focused,
Okay.
and they offer very little guidance on what types of agents to build for
Mhm.
specific business needs. It's
Yeah.
kind of like having all the ingredients for a delicious meal,
Yeah.
but no recipe to follow.
Yeah.
You just
Throw it all in the pot.
exactly.
Right.
You just throw it all together and hope for the best. So this new framework really provides more of a roadmap,
Right.
for building agents that are tailored to specific outcomes.
Okay.
And it outlines those key components and considerations for each type.
Yeah. So it's like instead of just throwing ingredients together,
Yeah.
you've got a recipe.
You have a recipe
Yeah,
for
that's
success.
exactly.
That's like that.
Yeah.
So what about the lack of business context that we talked about earlier?
Yeah.
How does this new framework address that?
So the new framework really emphasizes aligning AI agent development
Oh,
with
good.
actual business goals and processes.
Yeah.
It's about building agents that integrate seamlessly into existing workflows
Right.
and that really support specific business objectives.
It's like we don't want to build a square peg for a round hole.
Exactly.
Yeah.
We don't want to try to force fit a solution
Right.
where it doesn't belong.
Yeah.
It needs to be designed with the needs of the business in mind.
Perfect. And finally, how does this new framework kind of tackle that user experience issue? Well, it stresses the importance of designing these AI agents so that they're intuitive and easy
Right.
to use
Yeah.
and even enjoyable to interact with. It's
Yeah.
really about creating AI that complements human capabilities,
Okay.
not replaces them entirely.
This framework sounds like a much-needed shift in the right direction.
Yeah, I think so.
It's about really empowering businesses
Yeah,
to harness this power of AI
yeah.
in a way that's practical,
It's practical. Yeah,
effective, and user-friendly.
exactly.
All right, so now I'm excited to kind of explore these 4 types of AI agents
Okay,
and see how they can be applied in different business settings.
let's dive in.
Let's do it.
So let's start with conversational agents.
Okay.
I think those are probably the most
Okay.
familiar to people.
I'm particularly curious about how these agents go beyond,
Yeah,
like, a basic chatbot
right.
to really provide, a more human-like conversational experience.
Yeah, so conversational agents are really all about facilitating natural and engaging interactions.
Okay. Think of them as the masters of dialogue.
Okay.
They can understand nuanced language. They can maintain context and provide relevant information in a way that feels much more like a conversation with a helpful colleague
Yeah.
than like a robotic interaction.
So they're not just spitting out pre-programmed scripts.
Right.
They're actually understanding and responding to what the user is saying.
Exactly. They're using advanced technologies like natural language understanding,
Right.
natural language generation
Okay.
to create that more human-like conversational flow.
Yeah. And I imagine they're not limited to just like simple question and answer
No, not at all.
interactions.
They can ask clarifying questions.
Yeah.
They can remember previous interactions.
Okay.
And they can even adapt their communication style to different users.
That's impressive.
Yeah.
I can already see how this would be like a huge advantage in areas like customer service,
Absolutely.
where, personalization and that human touch is so important. Yeah, you see them popping up everywhere now.
Yeah.
Those AI-powered customer service agents,
Right.
handling those routine inquiries,
Yeah.
resolving issues, providing 24/7 support.
So that really frees up
Exactly.
those human agents to focus on,
The more complex stuff.
the more complex and maybe the more sensitive issues as well.
Yeah, exactly.
That makes a lot of sense.
Yeah,
Businesses are always looking for ways to
Right.
enhance their efficiency
yeah,
and improve that customer experience.
of course.
Are there any other areas where you're seeing conversational agents really kind of make a significant impact?
Well, they're also being used a lot for internal support,
Yeah.
assisting employees with IT issues or HR-related questions
Yeah.
or just helping them access internal resources.
So it's like having this,
Imagine having an agent that can answer your questions about company policies
Yeah.
or troubleshoot software problems.
right, or like help you find the right document
That's
in
right.
like a massive knowledge base.
Yeah, that's a huge productivity booster.
Yeah, no more digging through manuals or waiting on hold.
Exactly.
That would be a game changer.
It would.
But how do these agents handle, complex information or tasks
Yeah.
that require more than just, a simple answer?
Right, so that's where this idea of adaptive UI comes in.
Okay.
These agents are often integrated with interfaces
Right.
that can dynamically adjust for
Okay.
the conversation. So
Yeah.
they're presenting information in a way that's easy to understand and
Yeah.
interact with.
So it's not just about the words being spoken.
Right.
It's about how that information is presented.
Yeah, it's like a visual aid
Yeah.
that helps guide the user.
That makes it much more intuitive and user-friendly.
Exactly. And then there's the whole element of personalization as well.
Right.
Conversational agents can learn from user interactions
Yeah.
and tailor their responses and recommendations to individual needs and preferences.
Okay, and that can be incredibly valuable
Yeah.
in areas like sales and marketing,
Yeah, absolutely.
where understanding the customer's journey
Right.
and providing these personalized recommendations
Yeah.
can lead to higher conversion rates
Yeah,
and, customer loyalty.
for sure.
Can you give me like a specific example of how this might be used in, say,
Sure.
the retail industry?
Okay, so let's say you're shopping online for a new outfit.
Right.
A conversational agent on the retailer's website could help you find the perfect size and style. It
Yeah.
could recommend complementary items,
Yeah.
answer questions about shipping and returns,
All right.
and even offer styling advice
Wow.
based on your previous purchases and your preferences.
So it's like having a little AI fashion stylist in my back pocket.
Right there in your pocket.
I would love that.
Yeah.
Okay, so conversational agents are all about
Right.
enhancing communication,
Yeah.
making interactions smoother,
Uh-huh.
and personalizing that experience.
Absolutely.
What's the next type of AI agent?
Okay, so the next type is what
Yeah.
we call creative agents.
Creative agents.
Yeah, and these agents are all about fueling innovation
Okay.
and pushing the boundaries of content creation.
I'm intrigued.
Yeah,
So we're talking about AI that can actually be creative.
yeah.
What does that look like in practice?
Well, these agents leverage generative AI algorithms
Yeah.
to create new content from scratch.
Okay.
Whether that's writing text, composing music,
Wow.
designing graphics, or even generating code.
So it's like
Yeah.
AI that can replace human artists and designers.
Well, it's not necessarily about replacing human creativity.
Okay.
It's more about augmenting and amplifying it.
Okay.
Think of them as tools
Yeah.
that can help us explore new ideas,
Right.
generate different variations, push the boundaries of what's possible.
This is more about collaboration than competition.
Exactly.
How are these being used in the business world today?
Well, they're already making waves in a lot of different industries. In
Something-
marketing, for example,
Yeah.
they can be used to generate everything from social media posts. Right.
And add copy to entire marketing campaigns.
Wow. That would be a huge time saver.
Right. Imagine that.
No more writer's block.
No more writer's block.
What other kind of creative applications can you think of?
Well, they're also being used in design,
Okay.
helping to generate product mock-ups, website layouts, even architectural designs
Oh,
in software development.
yeah.
They can assist with generating code,
Mm.
testing applications,
Okay.
even identifying potential bugs
Ooh, so it's like having a whole team of
Yeah.
talented creatives
Right.
at your disposal.
at your beck and call.
But without all the overhead and the creative differences.
Right.
That's awesome.
And just like conversational agents,
Yeah.
creative agents are constantly evolving
Yeah.
and becoming more sophisticated.
Yeah.
We're already seeing AI-generated artwork being sold at auctions,
Right.
AI-composed music topping the charts.
It's fascinating to
Yeah.
see how AI is kind of pushing those boundaries
Yeah.
of what's possible. It's really changing the landscape.
In the creative realm.
For sure.
But I'm also curious about how these agents are controlled and guided,
Correct.
to ensure they're creating content that aligns with, specific business needs,
Yeah.
brand guidelines.
Right. Well, that's where that framework that we were discussing earlier really comes into play.
Right.
It provides a structured approach to defining the agent's objectives,
Okay.
its parameters, its constraints.
Yeah.
So you can make sure that the output aligns with the desired outcomes.
So it's not just about letting the AI run wild.
No.
It's about setting those clear guidelines
Exactly.
and boundaries
Yeah.
to ensure that the creativity is channeled,
Right.
in a productive
Purposeful.
and purposeful way. Yeah.
Yeah.
Can you give us a concrete example of how
Sure.
a creative agent might be used?
Okay, so let's say a marketing team is working on a new ad campaign
Right.
for a travel company. They could use a creative agent to generate, dozens of different variations of ad copy headlines, even visual concepts,
Yeah.
all based on the target audience,
Right, yeah.
campaign objectives, and
Yeah.
the brand guidelines.
Okay.
The team could then select the most promising options
Uh-huh.
and refine them further,
It's really
using the AI as a partner.
a partnership.
Yeah, a creative partner
Okay.
to explore new ideas and push the boundaries.
That's awesome.
Yeah.
All right, so we've got conversational agents.
Right.
We've got creative agents.
Uh-huh.
Now, I'm really excited to learn about these
Okay.
last two,
All right.
passive and active.
So passive agents are a little bit more subtle in their approach.
Right.
They work kind of behind the scenes,
Okay.
quietly enhancing systems with intelligent capabilities.
So they're like the silent heroes
Yeah, you could say that.
of the AI world.
They are.
What kind of magic are they performing?
Well, think of them as the ultimate enhancers. They make existing systems smarter,
Yeah.
more adaptive, and more user-friendly
Okay.
without drawing a lot of attention to themselves.
Yeah.
They're not trying to steal the show.
Right.
They're just there to make things better.
What are they really good at?
They're good at providing intelligent guidance,
Okay.
anticipating user needs,
Uh-huh.
and offering that proactive support.
So it's like having this helpful guide.
Yeah, like a whisper in your ear,
Yeah, whispering in your ear.
guiding you in the right direction,
Yeah.
but not being intrusive.
Right.
And they use adaptive learning to constantly improve that guidance
Yeah.
based on user interactions.
So they're constantly getting better.
They are,
Yeah.
more helpful over time.
That's a really slick way to kind of boost productivity and satisfaction.
It is.
Can you give me a real-world example of how a passive agent might enhance a user's experience?
Okay, so let's say you're using a project management tool
Right.
to collaborate with your team. A passive agent could be analyzing your project plan,
Yeah.
your task deadlines,
Okay.
your team's overall workflow.
Right.
And if it detects a potential bottleneck
Yeah.
or a task that's falling behind schedule,
Right.
it could proactively alert you
Okay.
or suggest ways to get back on track,
That's awesome.
all without disrupting your workflow.
So it's like a virtual project manager.
Exactly.
Looking over your shoulder, making sure everything's running smoothly.
Right there with you. What are their capabilities?
Well, they're also really good at personalizing the user experience.
Okay.
Tailoring content and recommendations to individual needs and preferences.
Okay.
For example, in an e-commerce setting,
Yeah.
a passive agent could be analyzing your browsing history,
Right.
your past purchases, even your current search queries to offer those personalized product recommendations.
Yeah. No more wading through pages
No
or
more
irrelevant search results.
Exactly.
It's all about making that experience more enjoyable and more efficient.
And ultimately driving sales.
Yeah, exactly. That's the goal.
It sounds like passive agents are really all about working behind the scenes
They are.
to make our lives easier and more
Yeah.
efficient.
They're the unsung heroes of the AI world.
But I'm also curious about those active agents
Okay.
that you mentioned.
Yeah.
They sound like they take a more
They do.
proactive approach.
They are the go-getters
Okay.
of the AI world.
Right.
They take initiative.
Yeah.
They orchestrate workflows.
Okay.
And they drive those processes forward.
So they're not just waiting for instructions.
No, they're not.
They're proactively taking charge
They are.
and making things happen.
They're making things happen.
That sounds incredibly powerful.
It is.
What kind of superpowers do they have?
Well, they have what we call autonomous decision-making capabilities.
Okay.
Which means that they can make decisions independently
Right.
without constant human input while still adhering to, predefined rules and objectives.
So they're like the self-starters of the AI world.
Yeah, they are.
What else makes them unique?
Well, they're also masters of what we call proactive engagement.
Okay.
They don't just sit back and wait for things to come to them.
Right.
They initiate actions, they engage with relevant stakeholders, and they really drive those workflows forward.
So they're like the ultimate networkers,
You could say that.
connecting the dots.
Yeah, they connect the dots.
And getting everyone on the same page.
They do.
Can you give me an example of how this might play out?
Okay. So imagine a company is launching a new product.
Right.
An active agent could coordinate that entire launch process
Wow.
from managing the marketing campaign, scheduling social media posts, to tracking inventory levels, and coordinating shipments to distributors. It could even analyze customer feedback and adjust the marketing strategy in real time.
So it's like the ultimate project manager
It is.
for this product launch.
It's a huge help.
No more juggling spreadsheets and emails and phone calls.
All taken care of.
But how do we make sure that these active agents are making the right decisions?
That's a great question.
That they're not kind of going off the rails?
So while they have a degree of autonomy,
Yeah.
they're still designed to operate within predefined boundaries and guidelines.
Okay.
Humans set the overall goals and objectives.
Right.
And the agent's decision-making is guided by those parameters.
Right. So it's a partnership between the AI and human intelligence.
And often there's a human-in-the-loop component as well, especially for those critical decisions.
Right.
So the agent might flag a potential issue or a high-stakes decision for human review.
So it's about finding that balance between AI autonomy and human control.
That's the key.
I'm really starting to see the transformative potential of these different AI agent types.
They're very powerful.
But I'm curious to learn more about the framework itself.
Okay.
How do we actually go about building these agents?
Right.
What are the key components and considerations?
So that's a great question, and that's really what we're going to explore next.
Right.
This framework isn't just a theoretical model.
Yeah.
It's really a practical guide to building AI agents that deliver real business value.
Okay.
It takes into account everything from how agents interact with the world to how they make decisions and learn from their experiences.
Okay, are you ready to dig deeper?
I am. Let's do it.
Let's unpack this framework and see how it all comes together.
Okay, so we'll start by looking at the different ways that AI agents perceive and interact with the world.
Right.
And we call these interaction modes.
Interaction modes.
Yeah, think of them as the agent's senses.
Okay.
They determine how the agent gathers information, communicates, and takes action in its environment.
This sounds fascinating.
It is.
I'm eager to learn more about these interaction modes.
Okay.
But I think we've covered a lot of ground today.
We have.
We'll have to save that discussion for our next deep dive session.
Sounds good.
Thanks so much for joining us.
It's a pleasure to be here.
We'll be back soon to continue our deep dive into the world of AI agents.
Looking forward to it.
See you then.
Bye.